again to Gun Safety Academy Cure for Ignorance. We're going to be talking about your rights, again, specifically after a shooting event. If you are forced to use your firearm in self-defense, when you're dealing with the police, what do you say, what don't you say, what are your rights, and where do those rights come from?
So specifically, we're going to be focusing on 3 amendments to the Constitution, the 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments, which are found in the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments of the Constitution.
Okay, so it's imperative that you know what your rights actually are. So read the 4th Amendment, the 5th Amendment, and the 6th Amendment, and understand what they say. Never lie to the police. Never lie to the police. You can hire a good lawyer, and maybe that lawyer will lie to the police, and maybe that's a good thing, but the lawyer is going to try to effectively represent your interest, okay? So if the police can't prove you were at such and such a place and the lawyer says that you weren't there, all he's saying really is that they can't prove that you were. He's not really lying. But never lie to the police. Never run from or touch a police officer. Never run from or touch a police officer. Doing so could get you shot, tased, or beaten. You could die if you touch or run from a police officer. Don't do it. Okay, so the 4th Amendment. What the 4th Amendment says is that the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable search and seizure shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or thing to be seized. So, you exercise your 4th Amendment right when you tell the police officer, I do not consent to a search. Oftentimes the police officer will phrase this question, well, do you mind if I look in your vehicle? And the answer?
Your knee-jerk reaction, no.
I don't mind. So no means yes. So by saying no to the police officer, you're giving him consent to search. Don't get trapped into this. Don't get trapped into this. When the officer says, do you mind if I search your vehicle? Say, I do not consent to a search. I do not consent to a search. If he takes you out of the car, as you get out of the car, lock the door and close it. Make it clear that he can't search the vehicle. And say again, I do not consent to a search. And this is your house as well. If the police come to your door and they want to come in and talk to you, don't let them in. You do not have to consent to a search. They can talk to you through the door cracked open with the chain on it. Or you can go outside under the porch, lock the door behind you, and talk to them on the front porch. You do not have to let them in. Do not let them in. Because all they're coming in for is to try to find something to arrest you for. They're coming in to search. And even if they just stand in the living room and they look around and they see something that they feel is illegal, then they're going to use that as probable cause to get a warrant, or they're going to go over and they're going to pick it up, they're going to arrest you. Don't let them in. I do not consent to a search.
Now, if they show up with a warrant, at that point you got to let them in.
Right.
Okay. But if they're just fishing, and it's obvious they're just fishing because they don't have a warrant in their hands, you don't have to let them in.
So oftentimes you'll see on cups and so on, these videos, the police will come to the door and they'll say, open the door, we're going to kick it in. I have never heard anybody say, do you have a search warrant? Okay, they open the door and the cops come in. So before you open the door, say, do you have a search warrant? And if the answer is no, you don't have to open the door and they can't kick it in. Only if they have a search warrant. The 5th Amendment, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentation or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising from the land or naval forces or in the militia, which is Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is separate from the Constitution, when in actual service at the time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life and limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So how the 5th Amendment applies to you in this criminal case, when the police officer asks you a question, you say to him, I'm going to remain silent. And then do that. You have a 5th Amendment right to do that. Once you say, I choose to remain silent, they cannot ask you questions. And then finally, the 6th Amendment I want a lawyer. The Sixth Amendment says that in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district where the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel. Okay, so that means that the court can subpoena witnesses for the defense, they can subpoena witnesses for the prosecution, and you have a right to a lawyer. So, again, when talking to the police, you say, I want a lawyer. So again, I do not consent to a search, Fourth Amendment. I'm going to remain silent, Fifth Amendment. And I want a lawyer, Sixth Amendment.
How this applies to concealed carry permit holders in Nebraska. If you're confronted by police after a shooting, or if they're a traffic stop or this kind of thing, you are required, when you deal with law enforcement, to identify yourself. So, driver's license. This is my name, this is my address, this is who I am. Identify yourself. And in Nebraska law, you're also required to inform them that you have a concealed carry permit. So you must show them this document. Okay. The law says you must immediately inform you have a concealed carry permit, and then upon request, you must show them the document. So, besides, this is my name, here's my ID, I have a concealed carry permit and the guns on my hip or the guns at the house. Besides that, you don't have to divulge any other information. Okay? I want a lawyer, I'm going to remain silent, I don't consent to a search.
And that's very, and if the police officer abuses you or forces you to continues to ask you questions, whatever, that's deliberate police misconduct, and you must report police misconduct. Okay, if it's a city cop doing this, you want to report it to the mayor's office, you want to report it to the internal affairs department of that agency. If they are not receptive to that report, you call the state police or the county sheriff and file the report to the higher agency. If it's the sheriff, you report it to the state police. If it's the state police, you report it to the FBI. File a criminal complaint against the police officer with the next higher agency if his agency is not receptive to that complaint. Report police misconduct. Exercise your rights. And there's a great website that I recommend to people. It's www.flexyourrights.com. You've got some great videos, and I definitely recommend you watch that. Flexyourrights.com. Report police misconduct. Exercise your rights. Keep your mouth shut.
When watching TV and stuff, or even this the Zimmerman case in Florida, this guy's talking to the police every chance he can get, going on the news every chance he can get. The biggest way you're going to go to prison is if you tell them a story now and you tell them a story later and the stories don't match, and they use those discrepancies, those inconsistencies in those two stories to demonstrate to a jury that you're lying, and if you're lying about it, that you must have done something wrong, and then you go to prison. Okay? So if you don't give them a story when they first arrest you, and you don't give them a story later, the stories match because you didn't give them a story either time. There is no discrepancies. Okay? So Zimmerman has acted it out on tape and talked and talked and talked, and it's impossible to not have discrepancies. I don't care how minute it is, there's a discrepancy in there somewhere, and they're going to use that to put this man in prison. Okay? Tiger Woods, cheating on his wife, she's beating the car with the golf club. Smartest thing he did in that whole situation was not talk to the police. 3, 4, 5 days, whatever it was, they're investigating, they're talking, the news is saying, why won't Tiger talk to the police, blah, blah, blah. And he didn't talk to the police, and all he got was a ticket for reckless driving, or destruction of a sign.
Ticket.
Yeah. If he had talked to the police, he could have been charged and convicted with domestic violence or a number of other things. All he got was a ticket. Okay? So in that instance, try to learn something from Tiger Woods for that.
Keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Okay? All right. Thanks for watching. Like the video, comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and thanks for your time.